Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tonight here for the first time in league history at the Kern County Raceway Park over in Bakersfield, California. And not for the first time in the league's history, we will be competing here in the ARCA car here this season. This is round number 2 of season number 19. Unfortunately, we were not able to cover the broadcast of the first race of the season back at Daytona live last week. But we are here for round number 2 of the season. Coming into tonight's event, leading the points off here is going to be none other than Daniel Sparks, who took home the win back at Daytona last week in what I hear was effectively a 5-wide finish. I believe the margin of victory between our top 5 drivers was like only a couple of hundredths. So it was a very exciting one at Daytona, and we should have that race broadcasted here on the channel coming up pretty soon. But for now, here for round number 2 at the Kern County Raceway Park, also now known as Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway as of last year. It had a little bit of a rebrand. One of the newer tracks on the circuit for the ASRC Oval Series, though. Of course, first time the league has visited this track. This track only opened up back in 2013, which was actually 12 years ago, which is crazy to think about. But even then, I mean, for racetracks, 2013 is pretty darn new. It's not like they're just popping up all over the place. We have an interesting track here, coming in only half of a mile, or 0.8 kilometers for those of you who use the metric system. Despite that, 12 to 14 degree progressive banking in the corners here, and the straightaways have 8 degrees of banking, which is almost as much as Dover Motor Speedway has over in wherever Dover is. I don't remember off the top of my head. With a much larger track, having almost as much banking as this one does is definitely quite the sight to behold. But as these drivers are starting to roll off here, how about we take a look down at our starting grid here for tonight's event. Starting out on the pole here in the number 85 machine, that's going to be none other than Mr. Brian Sabelski. Starting his outside, though, in the number 12, that is going to be the number 12 of Garrett Hess, running in a new paint scheme here this season. The Everfrost driver not running for Everfrost here, at least for tonight's event, running in a returning fire paint scheme here this evening. Then back in the third position, we have League Administrator Mr. 93 of Jason Gardner in the Motorcraft entry, followed by the Hello Kitty number 7 of Kevin Alicia back in fourth. Then back in fifth, we have the 188 machine. That's going to be Joshua Rudolph in the For the Hobby entry. That's the driver out of Medford, Wisconsin, back there in fifth. That's going to be the Dirt TV number 27 of Johnny Bell back in sixth. Back in seventh, we have the 45 of Mark Kluge, followed by the unsponsored 78 of Derek Murphy back in eighth. Then back in ninth, it's the C0 Box 24 of Corey Logan, with the 712 Fried Chickens Motorsport entry of John Atkins rounding out this 10-car field here this evening. Going to be 150 laps, and the green flag is up in the air here at the Kern County Raceway Park. So far, so good. Heading down into turns 1 and 2. Everyone's keeping it pointed in the right direction, side by side between our race leaders here, Brian Zabelski and Garrett Hess. And there's going to be contact coming across the start-finish line. Hess is around. Oh, that's airborne. Not how these drivers wanted this race to start. That was a nasty impact right in the early goings, and that looks like Jason Gardner's race is completely done for here in the number 93, just like that. Only a single lap in the books. And sure enough, he's bringing that car down to pit lane. It looks like Garrett Hess going to be coming down to pit lane here as well. Let's see if we can't take a look back at this incident and see what all just went down here. Sabelski down on the inside of the 12 machine of Garrett Hess up there on the high line, and just the tiniest little bit of contact on the line. Jason Gardner tries to get on the brakes to slow down, and oh, big impact for Corey Logan there as well. I did not realize that Corey was involved in that incident at first as well. Let's take a look back. Let's take a ride on board here with Corey Logan as they get a kind of front row seat to that incident. You see the wrecking start to happen up there, and surprise, there's the number 93 of Jason Gardner. Massive impact to kick off tonight's race, and that is probably going to be multiple cars not making it to the end of this one. What is very interesting to see, though, rookie driver in his second ever season of competition full-time here in the ASRC Oval Series, Kevin Alicia, in that Hello Kitty car, is going to be scored as our race leader coming to this restart. Going to be Johnny Bell in the number 27 back in position number 2, but this should be a single file restart since this is, we only got one lap of green flag racing in the books. Of course, in the ASRC Oval Series, you have to have multiple consecutive laps of green flag racing. Otherwise, multiple repeat cautions will make it single file restart. So this, yep, lights are out on the pace car, and it looks like this will be a single file restart. Kevin Alicia leading the field. Johnny Bell back in second, Joshua Rudolph back in third. Kevin, one podium finish to his name here in the ASRC Oval Series, and I believe that was back at the Five Flags Speedway a couple of weeks ago to kick off the end of season number 18. Going to be 5 laps officially completed when we take the green flag here, and the pace car is off down to the safety of pit lane. Still 145 laps left to go. Green flag up in the air. We're trying this thing once again here at Kern County. And looking throughout the field, it looks like everyone's been mostly okay here. That single file restart definitely seemed to help here. You can see Garrett Hess in that 12 machine. Looks like he really didn't get all that much damage compared to those other 2 drivers. He's working his way up through the positions right now, up to the 4th spot. And climbing as he starts to put the pressure down on Joshua Rudolph. He's going to move down to the inside here, going down to turns 3 and 4. And piece of cake for Garrett Hess. He moves his way on up to 3rd. Side by side further back for Sabelski and Derek Murphy. Sabelski's going to clear him. Now he's going to start to move down to the inside of Joshua Rudolph in that number... Mark Kluge, excuse me, now trying to make the move on Joshua Rudolph up here. Derek Murphy a little bit further behind. He's got the nose inside of that 45 of Mark Kluge there as well. Kluge running in the Scooby-Doo entry in that 45 machine. 2x2 in multiple spots around the field here. Sabelski going to get around Joshua Rudolph. Now he's going to try and work his way back up to the front as we see our 3 race leaders here all pretty much under a blanket with each other. Alicia still continues to lead the race. Johnny Bell just behind Garrett Hess, waiting for the opportunity to strike. He wants to get back up to the front of this thing after that unfortunate incident right at the start. He's going to make the move down to the inside on Johnny, and sure enough, Garrett Hess just like that, moving up to the 2nd position. But not quite. Johnny getting a bit of a run off the corner, but he gets a little bit squeezed up to the outside wall. Going to lose a little bit of ground there. And now Sabelski is here in the 4th position. He's ready to get involved in this battle. He wants to get back up to the front of this race. Of course, Sabelski and Hess were our race leaders before that caution flag came out, so they're both eager to get back up to the front here. Johnny Bell side by side with Sabelski, but he is going to lose the position. How will Kevin do with these 2 veteran drivers behind him? 2 drivers that are multi-time league champions are hot on his heels right now. While he is only in his 2nd ever season of competition, has not yet won a single race to his name. But for right now, he's leading the field over Hess and Sabelski, these 2 veteran drivers. And it looks like Hess might possibly be having some handling issues here. A little bit of wiggling and wobbling coming out of some of these corners. Nothing too catastrophic. He's still setting really solid lap times right now, but definitely sliding out from under him a little bit, coming out of turn number 4 especially. And sure enough, that little bit of a wiggle. Sabelski thinks about trying to make a move down to the bottom, but not quite close enough to make it work. We have gotten word from the number 93 of Jason Gardner. He has officially packed it up on the hauler and retired from tonight's event, so Jason will be finishing in the 10th position here tonight. Only 2 laps completed to his name. A little bit further back here, Rudolph and Murphy still digging it out with each other. Rudolph down on the bottom in the for the Hobby 188. Derek Murphy up high in that unsponsored number 78 machine as we might have trouble. I'm almost positive I just heard a car engine explode. That might have been Corey Logan's engine exploding down on pit lane because the green flag is still out. Now, that was very definitively the sound of a car engine expiring, so I'd imagine that we might be about to hear that 24's retirement from tonight's event as well. Very unfortunate to see. Only 2 laps completed, both for Jason Gardner and for Corey Logan. Kevin Alicia still continuing to lead here over Garrett Hess and Brian Sabelski. Sabelski all over the heels of the 12 machine of Hess, but just not quite able to get the nose in there and try and make a move happen. Really just completely under a blanket for these top 3 drivers. Lap times here as they come across the start-finish line. Last time by an 18.58 for Kevin Alicia, an 18.39 for Garrett Hess, an 18.46 for Sabelski. So despite the damage, Garrett Hess is the fastest of these 3 drivers right now, even if he is kind of slipping and sliding all over the place on corner exit. A track like this, it seems really hard for these drivers to pass each other without someone making a bit of an egregious mistake here. But still anyone's game here tonight. Long way left to go, only 22 laps in the books. Call it about 126 or so left to go. It's a long night here at the Kern County Raceway Park. Like I said, first time that this league has ever been to this speedway, so always exciting to see these drivers be able to take on something new. Going to be going to a bit of a similar track after this, next week heading on over to the Five Flags Speedway. Little bit less banking than this track has, but roughly the same length. And actually, we were at Five Flags not all too long ago, where Kevin Alessia took home his first podium finish in the league, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely will be exciting to see these drivers not only take to that track, but carry the experience that they have from this somewhat similar raceway over to there into next week. Following after Five Flags, we will be heading over to the Rockingham Speedway for 125 laps. Then Charlotte Motor Speedway, Irwindale, Nashville Fairgrounds, Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park, Dover, the Bullring, USA International Speedway, and then finally we crown the championship at Phoenix International Raceway. So mostly short tracks here this season in these ARCA cars, but following various parts of the Real World ARCA National Series along with the ARCA East and ARCA West Series, all running the Real World race distances that these drivers would be doing in their respective ARCA series. So always fun to have that little touch of Real World influence on the virtual racing platform that ASRC is competing on. Ryan Sabelski has officially cleared Garrett Hess, by the way, but Kevin Alessia continues to lead the race, though the gap is shrinking here. Last time by 18.68 for Kevin Alessia, 18.5 for Brian Sabelski. So I'd imagine Sabelski's goal now might just be to scare Alessia into really burning up his tires so that he can take the lead just on pit strategy and hopefully sail away. At least I'd imagine that's what Sabelski's game plan is here. Who knows? He is getting closer and closer every single lap, though. We'll see what the lap times look like this time around. Identical times between Alessia and Sabelski. 18.59, 18.59. And Garrett Hess was at 18.63, so Hess really isn't all that much slower than these two race leaders. But of course, every little thousandth counts here, especially on these short tracks where the laps are just so short. We do have some side-by-side battling going on further back towards the tail end of the field here. John Atkins, Mark Kluge duking it out. Kluge down on the bottom, Atkins up high in that 712 machine. He gets a little bit loose, scrapes against the outside wall here. But both drivers still hanging on to it side by side for the 7th position here. It looks like it is going to be John Atkins that has the advantage in this battle, at least for the time being. A little bit further up, Derek Murphy also putting the pressure down on the 27 of Johnny Bell here in the mid-pack for the 4th position between these two drivers. Of course, it's still nose to tail for the race lead here as well between Alessia and Sabelski. Coming into tonight's event, though, looking at the full league points, Daniel Sparks leads over Mark Kluge by just 2 points. Then Kluge is tied with Joshua Rudolph for 2nd. Jason Gardner back in 4th. And then Kevin Alessia in 5th in our point standings, all under a 5-point blanket here. Of course, as always in the ASRC Oval Series, there are the bonus points for running a clean race. Having no incidents gets you some bonus points, so some of these drivers definitely won't be seeing it here this evening, but I think we should see a couple of drivers, especially in the mid-pack, be picking up those bonus points and still be decently competitive in the championship standings. Coming across the line to officially complete lap number 36, Kevin Alessia continues to lead. Garrett Hess quietly running behind, but he is starting to catch back up to our two race leaders despite the damage. So we might be about to see Sabelski make the move for the race lead. Sure enough, yes, we will. Alessia goes up high. Sabelski moves to the bottom. That's going to move Sabelski up to the race lead. And now Garrett Hess is in attack mode. He wants to get around Alessia here as well. He's going to dive down to the inside, going through turns 1 and 2. Not quite able to clear him down to the back straightaway, but still side by side in this battle for second. And as these two duke it out, Sabelski pulls away from the two of them. Now Hess going up high, trying to see if he can't make the high line work for him a little bit here, but falling back about 0.3 of a second from Alessia. Oh, well, now Sabelski has clean air, no one to worry about. He is continuing to pull away here. Also, we have gotten word that Corey Logan as well has officially retired from tonight's event, so Corey will be bringing it home on 9th here this evening. A little bit further back, call it about 3 seconds back from our race leaders, we have Johnny Bell and Derek Murphy in a bit of a similar situation as our two race leaders. As it looks like Alessia is starting to get pressure put onto him by Garrett Hess. Every time we look away, they start getting aggressive with each other. Alessia doing his best to hold on to the second position here. He's got some pretty solid speed. Of course, Garrett Hess does have that little bit of front end damage to that 12 car there, but it doesn't seem to be hurting his lap times all that much. He's having a little bit of handling problems here, but otherwise, not all that bad. How about we take a moment, let's ride on board with the number 12, Garrett Hess, and take a look at how that car is handling from the inside. About a third of the way through tonight's event here now, and look around the lap times, things seem pretty decently evenly matched in terms of lap times here as we take a look down at this battle here between Mark Kluge and Joshua Rudolph for the 6th position. Looking around the lap times, everyone is setting times between about 18.6 to 18.9 roughly. So that's a pretty close gap between everyone. And aside from this battle going on here between Kluge and Rudolph, it seems like a lot of the field is kind of struggling to catch each other. Everyone mostly getting strung out, just settling into a rhythm as Kluge has a little bit of a wiggle there. But everyone just kind of run the race at their own pace here and seeing what they can make work. Of course, pit stops will be coming up here somewhat shortly. I'm pretty sure everyone needs to stop to make it to the end. Of course, with Sabelski building up nearly a 2-second lead here at this point, it's seeming like as long as he doesn't screw up his pit stop massively, he should be okay. Alessia still comfortably running back in the second position. Garrett Hess back in third. 0.6 of a second between himself and the second place driver. Last time by an 18.62 for Alessia, but we'll see how it looks as we come across the line here and get updated times for you. 18.52 for Sabelski, 18.8 for Alessia, 18.73 for Garrett Hess. Back and forth, an 18.75 for Johnny Bell, and 18.75 for Derek Murphy. So these two drivers that have been duking it out for 4th and 5th for these last couple of laps are very similarly matched with each other here as well. And as we zoom it out here a little bit, you can sort of get an idea of how the field has been spread apart so far. You can pull the track map up here and get a good idea of roughly where everyone is. It looks like we did have a taker down on pit lane. John Atkins came down pit lane in that 712 machine. Was serviced for about 15 seconds, so roughly where you'd expect it to be. But he's coming back down to pit lane, which is a little bit concerning to see, because I don't think John needs to be making a second stop here. Either a penalty to that 712, or perhaps some sort of damage that we're not aware of. But he brings it down to pit lane, and I'm not sure that his car is getting service this time around. Then you look back up here at the battle for second. Kevin Alessia, Garrett Hess here. Still at a comfortable 0.6 of a second between the two of them, right around where they've been running for probably the last 20 to 30 laps. Brian Zabelski's pulled away all the way to a 3-second lead now over Alessia, so he is just sailing away for the time being. John Atkins coming back out of pit lane once again, so I do think this is a matter of potentially getting a penalty last time through pit lane here. But he brings it back out on track, now 5 laps down. It's going to be hard to make that up, but not impossible. There is always the option of a caution flag coming out, John Atkins getting the lucky dog. That would at least give him 1 lap back, but you never know. Maybe we'll have 5 cautions back-to-back. He'll give 5 lucky dogs, and he could be back on the lead lap and contending with all these other drivers. Right now, though, with how the drivers of the ASRC Oval Series compete, generally they're pretty clean with each other, so I would definitely not be holding my breath that we're going to see 5 cautions in the next 80 or so laps. Looking around the field right now, the closest 2 drivers on the track is Derek Murphy and Mark Kluge. Call it about roughly 0.8 of a second between the two of them, but that 45 machine is slowly gaining on Derek Murphy here. Now down to about 0.6 of a second between the two of them. Last time by an 18.76 for Murphy and 18.58 for Mark Kluge, which was actually faster than the previous lap set by our race leader of Brian Sabelski. But of course, coming across the line now as they all update, Sabelski set an 18.54, so Sabelski's still up there in terms of speed. Kluge is steadily gaining now. Was down to about 0.5 of a second on corner entry there, but it definitely seems like he's losing his ground through the corners and making back up through the straightaways. It's kind of a bit all over the place because now he's back down to 0.4 of a second. And then on corner entry back up to 5/10, but this time he maintains the gap a little bit closer here. Now down to 3/10 of a second between the two of them. Murphy is steadily gaining here, or Kluge, excuse me, steadily gaining here on Derek Murphy in this battle for the 5th position. Now nose to tail, I'd imagine we're going to see Kluge make the move down to the inside, this time by not quite able to. Certainly thought about it, but not quite able to make it happen here. Coming down the front straightaway, still all over his rear bumper, but just can't quite make it work, and he has a little bit of a slip up on corner entry there. That cost him a little bit of ground, but still able to recover here. So far, everyone's still on the track that is on, or everyone that has been lapped right now has either been lapped from damage or from a penalty on pit lane. So far, so good. As we get ready to be halfway into tonight's event, that's actually pretty solid to see. A lot of the times, especially at these shorter tracks, Sabelski and Hess tend to start lapping cars before the halfway point. So everyone's been putting on a solid effort here. Speaking of Garrett Hess up at the front, Garrett Hess is once again back on the offensive. He has closed the gap back up to Kevin Alessia, and once again he's trying to make the move happen here to work his way up into the 2nd position. Alessia continuing to do everything that he can to hang on to the 2nd spot here. The last time by, identical lap times between Alessia, Hess, and Johnny Bell. Of course, Johnny 3 seconds back from this battle that's going on right now. This time by, Alessia pulls the gap up a little bit more as Hess scrapes against the outside wall coming on corner exit there. Gap now up to 7/10 of a second between the two of them. And every little scrape Hess has against the outside wall is just going to be progressively making the handling of that 12 machine worse and worse. So with time, I mean, that's going to be adding up and affecting his lap times here tonight. But right now, this is the closest battle on the speedway. Otherwise, the only other battle going on right now is the battle back for the 6th position, or excuse me, the 5th position between Derek Murphy and Mark Kluge, which is still roughly in the, well, I say that, Derek Murphy has a bit of a issue coming out of turn number 2, scrapes against the outside wall. That suddenly closes it up to about 1/10 of a second between the two of them. Kluge down to the bottom of the track, but still not close enough to make the move happen. Murphy's going to shut the door, and he's going to hang on to the 5th position here for the time being. Kluge, much narrower corner entry there in that 45 machine, but he's just not able to make that ground back. He had the opportunity to potentially make something happen there when Murphy got stuck up on the outside wall, wasn't quite able to get it done. Now he has to be patient and wait and see if he gets another chance like that. We are officially halfway through tonight's event, though, as Mark Kluge makes his way down onto pit lane in that 45 machine. He's going to be our 2nd taker under the green flag right now. And this will be putting him a lap down, if potentially even 2 laps, depending on how this plays out with this being such a short track. But Kluge going to try and short pit the field, and we'll see how it works out for him. Four tires is the call for Mark Kluge as well, which is definitely interesting to see because that will be putting Mark Kluge 2 laps down now. Of course, having to follow pit lane speed so slow coming out of pit lane, it's painful being behind the wheel of these race cars and having to keep it like 35 miles per hour. Sure enough, Kluge comes back on the raceway. He is going to be scored 2 laps down right now. That brings us back to our battle for 2nd with Alessia and Garrett Hess. Both drivers, the only driver within a second of each other here in the field. Sabelski leading with a whole 7.7 second lead over everyone else. He is in a zip code of his own right now. Of course, you see that 45 in the background here behind Garrett Hess. That is Mark Kluge that just pitted, so he is not on the lead lap. He's not battling for position right now. But nothing else Kluge is showing these drivers just how much of a difference new tires makes. Because I'll tell you what, Kluge was all over the back bumper of that 12 machine. Had to check up into the corner just to make sure he didn't make contact with them. But it definitely seems like these new tires carry a pretty solid amount of speed to them here. Of course, you gotta consider too, Garrett Hess is probably going to be hoping for a caution so he can maybe get some of this damage on the car repaired while he gets it serviced. I mean, it's mostly cosmetic damage, but I'd imagine there's at least a little bit there hurting his underlying speed. But Kevin Alessia goes high to let that 45 go by on those new tires, and that might be what allowed Garrett Hess to catch back up here and potentially make the move on him. It was down to 0.2 of a second between the two of them for just a second there, and it's still 0.2 of a second as Alessia gets a little bit loose out of the corner. Probably very stressful for one of these newer drivers in the series. Newer driver as a whole on iRacing.com. Having such a storied veteran driver all over his rear bumper here. And Garrett Hess has been competing in the ASRC Oval Series since the very first season, and he was taking home wins in the very first season at that. And of course, so has Brian Sabelski, and you can see how Sabelski is doing, sailing away from the field with now a 10-second lead. Not entirely surprising that that driver is a 4-time Oval Series champion here with the ASRC Oval Series. But still all between Alessia and Garrett Hess here, as Joshua Rudolph is going to be the first driver to have been put a lap down on pace here. Derek Murphy not all too far behind. You can see Rudolph up here kind of running by himself right now in that 188 machine, down one position from where he qualified, but having a quiet evening. And sometimes a quiet evening isn't necessarily a bad thing, because he should be eligible to be picking up some bonus points for running an incident-free race, I believe. I have not seen Rudolph get into any sort of scuffles whatsoever, so that ought to be good for him. Driver out of Medford, Wisconsin, competing here in the ASRC Oval Series for a pretty decently long while here. Always great to see him out on the raceway. Derek Murphy in that 78. Only a second behind Johnny Bell right now. And now within a second of Johnny Bell, just barely. Having a decently quiet evening of his own. It's all these three drivers here in the mid-pack that I'm really looking at that probably will be picking up the clean race bonus here. And when the points difference right now is, I mean, all of your top 5 in the point standings are within a 5-point blanket of each other. Even a single bonus point for having a clean race, I mean, that matters. That very much adds up here in this series. But for now, I think really that is the game plan for a lot of these drivers, is just try and keep it clean if they haven't already been involved in an incident, and see what they can get out of this race in terms of points. John Atkins once again bringing it down to pit lane here in that 712 machine. Already 6 laps down. He brings it down again. Once again, I worry if this is something mechanical with that machine, because I don't believe this is a scheduled pit stop. I say that, but they are putting new tires on it, so maybe I am just mistaken. We'll see what happens for him, but he's going to be coming back out on the speedway, especially since they're putting 4 tires on it. He's going to be coming back out on the speedway probably, I want to say 8 laps down, maybe 9 laps, 8 laps. 8 laps down for John Atkins. But he is still running, and every lap he turns is a little bit more experience in this ARCA car and a little bit more knowledge to carry with him into the next round over at the Five Flags Speedway. Alessia still running in second. Garrett Hess back in third. 0.5 of a second between the two of them, and closing as Hess starts to make some ground up. Still, these two drivers are setting identical lap times as each other. Last time by a 18.79 for Alessia and 18.78 for Garrett Hess. So it really is neck and neck between these two drivers. Sabelski now up to a 12-second lead. And Johnny Bell still running back in fourth. Derek Murphy back in 5th as the last driver still on the lead lap. But I'd imagine we're about to see this driver get lapped by Brian Sabelski. You can see Sabelski just back there, just barely out of frame. Quietly running his race. Slowly but surely catching back up to these cars. Now within 50 laps left to go here, so not a super whole lot of time left here at the Kern County Raceway. When you consider that, again, I mean, we're setting 17 to 18 second laps here. These are going to be clicking by a lot faster than these drivers realize, particularly when they are behind the wheel of these race cars. When you're in the zone, you don't realize just how quickly the race is going by sometimes. Now, once again, we take a look down at Alicia and Hess. Last time by, Hess was about a 1/10 of a second faster than Alicia was. You can see that 712 just behind on new tires. That's John Atkins, who is currently 8 laps down, so he is not involved in this battle for position between the two of them. It looks like Alicia might be starting to have a little bit of connection issues here. But nothing too egregious. It seems like it's mostly okay. But sure enough, our race leader is making the call to come down pit lane. I'd imagine we're going to be seeing the rest of the field start to follow with them down here soon. And then with a 13-second lead, that's a pretty comfortable place for him to be. Kevin Alicia also going to be coming down. Garrett Hess elects to stay out. But of course, I mean, Hess pitted under that first yellow because he got damaged, so he might have just an inkling bit more fuel to play with over Sabelski and Alicia. Sabelski, of course, is going to win the battle off of pit lane over Kevin Alicia. A 8.85 second stop for Sabelski. Kevin at a 12, 13, 14.35 second stop. And so far, nobody else around the field makes the call to come down pit lane. Sabelski, with the big advantage, the big lead he has managed to stay on the lead lap. Kevin Alicia not quite able to say the same. He is currently being scored a lap down. Mark Kluge also a lap down here as well in that 45 machine. So right now, should a caution flag come out anytime soon, it will be Mark Kluge that gets the lucky dog. Johnny Bell right now is running back in the 2nd position here. Derek Murphy being scored back in 3rd. Of course, these two have been battling it out all race, but with the pit cycle underway, it's allowing them to get perhaps a little bit closer to each other here. But both of them still need to come down here at some point, so it's mostly just a game of chicken between the two of them right now. Garrett Hess also, of course, still needs to come down here as well in that 12 machine. And Joshua Rudolph still needs to come down as well. Otherwise, everyone else has pitted at least one time here in tonight's event. But Garrett Hess right now being scored as your race leader. And he has a 3.3 second lead over Johnny Bell. We'll see how the lap times look when they come across the line here. 18.88 for Garrett Hess, 18.87 for Johnny Bell. So Johnny and Garrett are still very equally matched with each other. If a caution flag did bunch this field back up, it'd be very interesting to see these two racing around each other with roughly equal equipment. But we have a driver having issues here with Mark Kluge a bit off the pace. We're getting word that he might have had an incident here, so let's really quickly take a look back and double check. Kluge back in the 6th position at the time of this. No, spins out, coming out of turn number 2. Scrapes against the inside wall, but for the most part manages to save it, so no caution flag there. Kluge right on the bumper of Kevin Alicia now. These two drivers are duking it out for the lucky dog spot here, so should a caution flag fly. Right now, it's Alicia that would be put back on the lead lap, but if Kluge is able to get around that 7 machine, he might be the one being put back on the lead lap instead. Again, continuing to go under the assumption that there will be a caution flag at all, which is certainly not guaranteed here. Still, though, Garrett Hess, Johnny Bell, Derek Murphy all need to come down pit lane. So does Josh Rudolph. All these drivers have not yet pitted under the green flag. Of course, Garrett did pit when he got that damage, but that's only an extra lap of fuel he has over the rest of the field. Ryan Sabelski back here starting to make some ground back up on the 78 of Derek Murphy. Again, Derek has not pitted. Sabelski has, so Sabelski is on new tires here. He's going to move around that 78 without too much difficulty. I would imagine that we're going to see Murphy now come down to pit lane next time by. I could be mistaken on that, but I have a feeling that 78's plan was just to stay out until Sabelski passed him and then come on down. But sure enough, he proves me wrong. Now Sabelski putting the pressure down on Johnny Bell, who also is on old tires, has not yet pitted here tonight. Ryan Sabelski has. Moving down to the inside, not quite able to get alongside. Now he's able to, coming on corner exit. And that moves Sabelski up to the second position here. Will he be able to run down this 3.5 second lead Garrett Hess has here? My bet is yes, considering last time by he was half a second faster than Garrett Hess was. 18.94 for Garrett Hess, 18.4 for Brian Sabelski. So again, half a second faster than Garrett Hess was last time by. This 85 machine is absolutely a rocket ship here tonight. Taking a look around the field here, it looks like Joshua Rudolph has once again been lapped. So that means Rudolph is now the current eligible driver for the lucky dog position should the caution flag come out, not Kevin Alicia. Johnny Bell now electing to come down pit lane here in that 27 machine. So that leaves just Derek Murphy and Garrett Hess that still have not yet pitted. This will probably bump Johnny down a lap here as well, but we'll see how long it takes them to get that work done to that car. A very short stop for Johnny Bell. That looks like a fuel-only stop for him. But that will be bringing him back on the lead, or back out on the track. Still a lap down. Last driver still running besides John Atkins right now. The gap for the race lead has gotten down to within 1 second, though, as Sabelski catches up to that 12 machine slowly but surely. Really not slowly, just surely here. With 24 laps left to go here at the Kern County Raceway. And only 3 cars still on the lead lap. Garrett Hess, Brian Sabelski, Derek Murphy. Hess pulls down to the bottom of the track. He is giving up the ghost and coming on down to pit lane here. That will leave just Sabelski and Murphy on the lead lap for the time being. With 22 laps left to go, that may very well be all she wrote here tonight. Derek Murphy 6 seconds back. And last time by 0.4 of a second slower than Brian Sabelski, so odds are not looking super great for him catching up to the race leader. And sure enough, Murphy now comes down to pit lane. So that now just leaves Sabelski up at the front running his race, as every other car on the field is now a lap down here tonight. 20 laps left to go here at the Kern County Raceway. Garrett Hess back in second, a full 22 seconds behind our race leader Brian Sabelski, and only a 3-second stop for Garrett Hess. So he really is shortening himself on fuel here, getting the bare minimum that he needs. Here's a battle for position here. Third and fourth. Kevin Alessia, Joshua Rudolph. These two are duking it out. Not on the lead lap, but for the third position here with 19 laps left to go. Kevin is looking very steadily like he might be able to take home a second podium here tonight, though. A very solid performance. I mean, he's not a rookie driver anymore, but compared to the rest of the field, he is the newest driver in the field, actually, looking around. So, in air quotes, you can consider him a rookie driver still, I suppose. Run all the way back up in third, though. Very solid performance so far for the driver of that Hello Kitty number 7. Well, taking a run down through the field here, of course, Brian Sabelski is our race leader with a 23, nearly 24-second gap over the rest of the field. Only driver on the lead lap. Started out on the pole. He's running in first place. He's having basically the best evening he could ask for right now. Back in second, Garrett Hess. Of course, 23 seconds behind our race leader. Really kind of needs a caution if he wants any hope of having a battle for the race lead here tonight. But also running where he started, so despite the lap 1 incident here, I'd say Garrett's kind of salvaging together the best evening he can have right now. The second place finish is no scoffing matter, especially in the point standings. Kevin Alessia, we were just talking about a moment ago in that Hello Kitty number 7 machine, running back in the third position, up +1 from where he qualified. Right now, looking to potentially be taking home his second ever podium finish in the ASRC Oval Series. Back and forth, that's the 188 of Joshua Rudolph right now, also up +1 from where he qualified. Quiet evening for that 188, but it's been a clean one, so Joshua Rudolph should be picking up the clean race bonus here tonight. Just beside him, this is a battle for position with Mark Kluge, who has now moved his way up into the 4th position. That makes Mark Kluge up +3 from where he qualified here in that Scooby-Doo entry. Pretty solid performance here for that number 45 machine, walking away with a quiet 4th place finish, barring anything catastrophic happening in these next 12 laps. Johnny Bell now starting to catch up to Joshua Rudolph here as well, and once he gets around Rudolph just like that, that will put him up into the 5th position, up +1 from where he qualified. Of course, Johnny, I think, might have gotten a little bit of damage from that lap 1 caution. I'm not positive on that, so that he might be getting the clean race bonus, he might not. Back in 5th in the 188, Joshua Rudolph. We were just talking about him, but now he's fallen down 2 positions. That makes him down -1 from where he qualified. Not quite ideal, but still doing better than some of the others. Derek Murphy back here. Of course, quiet evening for him as well. Up +1 from where he qualified here tonight. And, I mean, he's still on the same lap as everyone else that's still running right now. So, he's got that going for him. And finally, the last car still running here tonight. That is going to be the number 712 machine of John Atkins, being the little Ford that could here. He's 8 laps down, but he's still trying his best, and that's what counts. We've got a side-by-side battle here for second, though. Kevin Alessia, Garrett Hess duking it out with each other. And with only 8 laps left to go, Garrett Hess gets in the outside wall. Alessia hot on his heels here. Alessia still looking good for a potential podium finish here. But there's trouble, as that's the 712 machine kind of in the way of Garrett Hess. Hess makes a big move down to the inside. But that's going to allow Alessia to get right up on his bumper with 6 laps left to go. Brian Sabelski, 28 seconds now is the gap to the lead between Garrett Hess and Brian Sabelski right now. But this is a very exciting battle here for the second position. Alessia and Hess, it's not the first time that these two drivers have been at it with each other. Driver in his second season of competition against multi-time league champion here. And is coming down to the wire with 5 laps left to go for the second position. Johnny Bell also involved in a battle here with the 45 of Mark Kluge. So we have a battle for second going on and a battle for 4th here. And really, all these drivers are pretty decently close to each other with 4 laps left to go. Johnny Bell starting to fall back. Alessia still on the attack with Garrett Hess here. 4 laps left to go here at the Kern County Raceway Park. And oh, a little bit of contact there between Alicia and Hess, I believe, but Alicia still behind, not able to make any sort of moves happen here. And really, it's 2 to go between these two drivers, but Hess gets loose out of the corner. That's going to allow Alicia to make the move down to the inside. 2 laps left to go here at the Kern County Raceway Park. Alicia just nosing ahead of Garrett Hess. And he's going to have the advantage here going down into turns 1 and 2. And the white flag is up in the air for Brian Sabelski here. Alicia starts to pull away. Johnny Bell makes the move on Mark Kluge here as well. And Brian Sabelski having a pretty much picture-perfect race here tonight. He's going to come across the line. Brian Sabelski takes home the win here at the Kern County Raceway Park. Kevin Alicia, 29 seconds back, brings it home in position number 2. Garrett Hess rounds out your podium here this evening. Tell you what, for a race that ran almost exclusively under the green flag and with only 1 driver on the lead lap, that was a mighty heated finish there. But sure enough, it's going to be Brian Sabelski, the driver, getting it done here. That will be his first of, what I imagine will be many races won to his name. Because Brian has made it very abundantly clear in this league that he is a very big fan of the ARCA car. That said, we've just totaled a bunch of race cars. So how about we cut a break real quick, and we'll be back here in just a moment with some words with your top 3 finishers. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back to Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. 150 laps in the books, and there's only one driver on the lead lap. Would you believe it? It's the man who took home the checkered flag. That's how racing works. It's Brian Savelski. Brian, how are you feeling here tonight?
Oh, I feel bad about that incident at the start. I mean, I think I slid up just a tiny little bit and got into Garrett, and then I checked up to give him space to recover from the spin. And Jason was already coming out of the corner, hard like he should have been on normal conditions, and ran into me and ran into Garrett. That's just a mess that I really just did not want to. You know, obviously I don't want to be any part of that, but I feel bad about that. So kind of mixed feelings on the win. Like, yay, I won. I wanted to come out here and win this week. Especially short track. Hi, Luna. Kitty's here. But yeah, I came out here. I wanted to win, and after last week, spending on the last lap, coming to the line at Daytona, I wanted to come out here and do well. I just I hope it would have been a little bit cleaner, even if I was the fastest car out here tonight. So
Well, it is a little bit of short track racing. These things do happen. And one way or another, you put on a very dominant display here tonight. How are you feeling about this new ARCA car compared to the one that we drove last year?
I love the old Arca car a lot. I've started getting used to driving this car, and it's different, but it's fun. I have a lot of experience with the next gen, and it feels there's a little bit I can pull from that, as well as some experience with the 87s and stuff like that. So I've kind of started to become more of a all around, well rounded oval car driver. So like the short tracks and also the road courses, I'm kind of really starting to get my groove here. Don't ask me how Lime Rock went. It did not go well. It was chaos. I had fun, but I had fun lapping at least, but the results don't show that. Um, but yeah, these short tracks, I like running short tracks in anything. I feel really confident um, in that, and yeah, new car feels good. I've kind of gotten used to it after running a season of officials, and it's uh, it's definitely it's a nice car.
Fair enough. It definitely seems like you got some speed in it. And like you were saying, short tracks and road courses are where you seem to really do well. No road courses on the schedule this season, but we sure as hell have a lot of short tracks, including next week at the Five Flag Speedway. So, how are you feeling about heading over there and your championship prospects as a whole here this season?
Well, I'm hopeful we'll have a good shot at the championship. I'm really hoping that we don't have a lot of races like tonight where it's just there's an instant out front and knocks out the people that are um, really able to keep up with me. Like I would expect to be able to keep up with me qualifying wise. Like I would love to have a good race with Garrett and Jason. They're hard racers, they're clean racers, and it's always more fun to win something you have to really uh, to claw away at, rather than just kind of lucking into something. Um, I've been on both ends of those, and it's not fun when you luck into it and you win, and it's not fun when you get the other end of the luck stick too. So we we had a got a, yeah, a mistake on pit road that actually turned out to be beneficial. I had my tires checked, and I was not intending to take tires at all on the stop, so I ended up just taking rights, which really benefited me on that last 50 lap run.
Fair enough. It definitely seemed to work out for you here tonight. The only driver on the lead lap, it's not super often that we see that happen, so props to you for being able to pull it off. Of course, before I
Thanks.
let you go, you've got your first win to your name here on season number 19, so the microphone is all yours. Who do you want to thank for making it happen?
Well, Aiden, of course, thank you for doing all the broadcasting work, and Jason, of course, for being the big cheese setting up the league here. Him and Johnny and all them who've been doing this for such a long time. It's always good to have a good group of people to race with. Everyone who came out tonight, you guys are all awesome. Thank you for being here. sorry again about that caution if that messed up anyone's races. I know I think it kind of caught Jason and Corey out, unfortunately. But yeah, Maconi Setup Shop, official setup shop at NASCAR. Always good to have their backing. SM Racing Products with their trusty button box that I was using incredibly well at Pocono on Sunday to try and fuel save. And the late caution came out and I didn't need to do it anyways. So um yeah, I already said you guys, everyone who's watching on Twitch and YouTube and all that, thank you all for being here. You guys are great. Yeah, may have a few more. Oh, Dragon Rose Coffee, new partner has come on board. So um, great coffee shop, and they have great product as well. So check them out. But yeah, thanks everyone for being here, and we'll see you next week at Five Flags.
Good deal. Congratulations on the win here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much.
And finishing back here in position number 2 in the Hello Kitty car. Season number 2 of full-time competition here in the ASRC Oval Series, and that is now podium number 2 to your name, Mr. Kevin Alessia. How are you feeling here tonight?
I'm feeling really good. Like Brian said, I wasn't expecting that first wreck to take out some good competitors, good racers out there. Uh, it was, uh, I mean, I'm happy for the second place and everything, and going against Garrett, while that's always very fun to compete against him and everything. It was just upsetting to get it this way. Um, Everyone handicapped in a way or knocked out.
Well, even with that incident, you've still had a lot of speed here, and you were competing with Garrett, who is a multi-time league champion, pretty decently all throughout the night here tonight, so don't discredit yourself too much. A second place finish is a second place finish for you.
Yeah, and like I said, I do enjoy racing against Garrett. Like I feel like he's somebody who I look to see, like, him and Brian are really good and really fast. So I like to see how they race and how I can mimic some of their lines, and the racing with them, battling with them is really fun.
Well, sure enough, last week at Daytona, it was practically a 5 wide finish with you involved in it. Now a podium to your name here tonight. How are you feeling about your prospects this season as a whole?
I feel like we have a good field and everything, and good racers all around. So it's gonna be, I want to say, competitive in every race going forward. I enjoy seeing everyone come out to these races to give it more of a challenge.
Good deal. Well, definitely a heck of a run for you here tonight, and I definitely look forward to seeing how the season plays out for you. As so far, I believe you are the newest driver that is still running full time here in the series, so definitely a driver to be keeping an eye on. For now, though, the microphone is all yours, Mr. Alessia. Who do you want to thank for making things happen?
I want to thank you, of course. With these streams, it's always fun to watch them and look back at them and share them with my family, so that way they can see it. And I want to thank my wife again, because she's always there to watch the races and cheer me on, and super supportive when I do get podiums. So the second time getting a podium, she's already sending me messages like, yeah, like good job and everything. So I was like, it gets me excited and looking forward to the future races.
Good deal. Well, congratulations on the podium here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Five Flags.
Look forward to it.
And finishing back here in position number 3, a little bit of a catastrophic start to tonight's event, but he still manages to make a podium happen here tonight. Mr. Garrett Hess, how are you feeling here this evening?
I'm I'm honestly not upset about what happened. I mean, it was at the beginning of the race. But overall, I'm feeling pretty fine.
Yeah, still a very solid performance for you here tonight. If that lap 1 caution didn't happen, do you think you would have been able to take the win from Sabelski?
I think it probably would have been 50-50 between me and him. Brian's really fast at these short tracks where there's multiple lines viable. I got a better start than him, and I was planning on just carrying momentum on the high side. What I think happened was I think that I mean everyone on the inside expects the person on the outside to track out. I didn't track out as much as I probably should have. And Brian just came up into me because I admittedly I was pinching him a little bit by not running further up in the second lane, but I was just trying to get as sharp as a corner as possible and as much of a run down the front straight so I could clear him. So I could clear him into turn one. Man, we just got together. I mean, that stuff happens. There's no point in getting upset about it if it's not like it wasn't something egregiously bad where I'm gonna be upset about it, and it wasn't something intentional. Because Brian's a clean guy. I know he wouldn't mess me up like that on purpose. But overall, it was more so the second impact with Jason. He just was a bystander, and it was really unfortunate that he got into me after that because I think that's what really screwed up my car. Because after that, I had to drive a way I'm not used to. I had to dive it into the corners and make the car stick because I had no center rotation. And if you don't got center rotation, you don't gotta drive off the corner.
Fair enough. I know looking at the rest of the season, I mean, you've said that you've had some kind of strong opinions about this car, particularly on the larger tracks, but with this season being so short track dominant, how are you feeling about this car and your chances for the championship?
I mean, I think it's fun. I think it's fun on the short tracks. It's definitely what the car excels at the most. Um, but I personally would have liked a little bit more on the intermediate side, but I can't complain with the current schedule. It's pretty good as is. But I think it will be a toss up between me and Brian, and heck, if Kevin keeps up his good progress, he'll definitely be in contention for it too. Because I mean, he's one. I think this is his second top five. So he's the only person to record, I think, two top fives in the first two races. So he's definitely off to a good start. But I mean, we got drop weeks and everything, and we still got 10 races left. So I'm not really going to be particularly worried over this race. And more than everything, I mean, I'm just here for fun. I'm here because I like showing up to a real clean league like this.
Fair enough. Well, it's definitely always great to see you out here on the track. And again, a podium to your name is pretty decent in terms of points. So a lot to be looking forward to for the rest of the season. For now, though, the microphone is all yours, Mr. Hess. Who do you want to thank for making everything happen here tonight?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone who raced in Marca the past couple months. That was a fun little league. I might try to get a second season going with the Gen 4 cars, who knows? But everyone who raced in Marca, want to thank my brother for giving me something to wake up towards in the morning. Really want to thank myself for finally being able to get my driver's license after 22 goddamn years. But anyways, besides that, I also want to thank you and Jason for putting on the show. Wouldn't be possible without y'all.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. Congratulations on the podium and the driver's license. And I look forward to seeing you next week over at Five Flags.
Yes, sir. I'll see you then.
You heard it here first, folks, your top three finishers here tonight. But of course, those weren't the only drivers present here in tonight's event. So how about we take a look down at our unofficial race results as they stand here. Of course, your top three finishers that we just spoke to here tonight. If it would like to come up on screen, it's not giving us our results. That's kind of messed up. But you'll just have to take my word on it. Our results as they stand here tonight: Brian Sabelski, your race winner here this evening, followed by Kevin Alessia getting his second podium in ASRC, with Garrett Hess rounding out the third place position here tonight. Then back and forth is the 27 of Johnny Bell, with the 45 of Mark Kluge rounding out the fifth position here tonight. Then back in sixth is the number 78 of Derek Murphy, followed by the 188 of Joshua Rudolph back in seventh. Then in eighth, we have the 712 of John Atkins, with the 24 of Corey Logan, and the 93 of Jason Gardner rounding out the tail end of this field here this evening. That said, that's just about all we've got here from Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. 150 laps in the books. Quite an exciting show here tonight. Next week for round number 3, heading on over to the Five Flag Speedway, another short track right around the same length as this one. So If you enjoyed what you saw here tonight, definitely be sure to tune in next week. But for now, thank you all for tuning in, race fans, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.